Rain poured heavily that night. It was 11:45 p.m. when the last bus of the day, Harapan Jaya, departed from the city terminal, heading toward a remote mountain village. Only 9 passengers were on board, including Dimas, a college student returning home after a long day of classes. The old bus groaned as it pushed through thick fog. Streetlights flickered and died one by one, leaving only the weak glow of the bus lamps, which kept blinking, as if struggling to stay alive. At the front sat the driver, Mr. Surya, and his conductor Reno, but something felt off. Since they left the terminal, Reno hadn't checked anyone's tickets. He just stood silently by the door, eyes fixed on the road, too afraid to turn around. About an hour later, the bus stopped in the middle of the forest. Without saying a word, Mr. Surya opened the door. A young woman in a soaked white dress stepped in. Her skin was pale, her hair dripping wet as if she had just crawled out of the rain. She quietly walked to the back and sat down. But here's what chilled Dimas. No one else on the bus reacted. Not even a glance. It was as if he was the only one who could see her. He tried talking to the man beside him, but the man just stared blankly forward, motionless, unblinking. Then Dimas realized something horrifying. None of the passengers were moving. They weren't breathing or alive. As the bus crossed an old wooden bridge, the fog on the windows revealed a dark shadow crouching on the roof, keeping pace with the bus. Then a whisper echoed from the back seat. "They're already dead. Now it's your turn." The lights flickered violently. The bus shook. Screams filled the air, yet Dimas couldn't hear his own voice, only saw lifeless faces staring at him in the dark. When morning came, police found the wreck of Harapan Jaya in a deep ravine. Everyone inside was dead. Every seat was soaked in blood, except one, the seat where Dimas had been sitting. To this day, truck drivers and night travelers swear they still see a red bus passing along that same mountain road every Friday night, its lights flickering, filled with silent passengers, watching anyone who dares to look too long. They said everyone died that night, but the truth was far more terrifying. 3 days after the crash, a search team found Dimas wandering near the edge of the ravine, barefoot, his clothes torn and soaked with mud. He was alive, but silent. When they tried to ask what happened, he only whispered one word. "She followed me?" Doctors said he was in shock. But the CCTV footage from the terminal told another story. In the recording, Dimas was the only passenger who ever boarded the bus. There were no other passengers, no conductor, no driver, just him, staring into the dark aisle as if talking to people who weren't there. When investigators returned to the crash site, they found something else. The bus had no engine, no plates, and the serial number on its side belonged to a vehicle that crashed and burned 20 years ago on the exact same road. That night in the hospital, a nurse walked past Dimas's room. She froze. Through the glass, she saw a woman in white standing next to his bed, brushing his hair gently. The nurse rushed in, but the woman was gone. Only the smell of rain and mud lingered in the air. Dimas woke up screaming that night. He said the bus was calling for him, that he could hear the engine again running outside the window. When the guards checked, they saw tire marks on the wet ground leading to the edge of the forest. The next morning, Dimas was gone. His hospital bed was empty, the window wide open. The only thing left was a bus ticket, soaked and faded. Departure time, 11:45 p.m. Destination, unknown. And some say, if you wait at the old terminal long enough, you'll hear it, the distant roar of an engine that shouldn't exist. The Harapan Jaya bus coming to pick up its last missing passenger. 10 years after the tragedy of Harapan Jaya Bus 45, the story had turned into an urban legend, something people whispered about on rainy nights. No one really believed it, until Myra took the midnight bus. Myra was a travel blogger always chasing ghost stories. When she heard about the midnight bus to death, she decided to prove it was just superstition. She arrived at the abandoned terminal at 11:30 p.m., holding her camera and a flashlight. The place was silent, no workers, no passengers, just the sound of dripping rain. Then, from the far end of the road, she saw it. Headlights. Two dim yellow lights cutting through the fog. The sound of an engine echoing through the empty streets. "You've got to be kidding me," she whispered, recording everything. The red bus slowly stopped in front of her. Its paint was old and faded, yet the sign above the windshield still read, "Harapan Jaya, last trip." The door opened with a hiss. Inside, she saw rows of empty seats. And at the very back, a young man sitting by the window, staring out into the night. Myra smiled nervously. "Hey, are you real?" The man turned his head slowly. It was Dimas, but his eyes, they were pitch black. No pupils, no whites, just endless darkness. The bus lurched forward before Myra could react. The doors slammed shut on their own. Her camera flickered, the screen glitching. Through the lens, she saw more passengers appearing one by one in every seat. Their faces pale, their eyes hollow and dripping wet, as if they had just crawled out of a river. Dimas spoke without moving his lips. "You wanted proof? Now you'll ride with us?" Myra screamed, but the sound vanished, absorbed by the thick fog outside. The bus sped into the darkness, leaving nothing behind but the echo of the horn. And her camera, lying in the middle of the road, still recording. The final footage, recovered days later, shows a reflection in the bus window, 9 faces staring out. And behind them, a 10th, new one, Myra's. 3 days after Myra vanished, a group of hikers found her camera near the old mountain road, half buried in mud, still blinking red. The police handed it to the forensics team, but no one dared to play the file at night. The video was simply titled, "Trip-to-Death.mp4. The footage began normally, Myra talking to the camera, smiling. She mentioned she was going to prove that the Harapan Jaya story was a hoax. Rain started falling, her lens fogged a little. Then came the sound of an engine. A bus appeared in the distance, the same red one. Its headlights flashed twice, like it was signaling her. The next 10 minutes of the video were static, just the hum of the bus engine and the faint sound of whispering. But when the screen cleared, the image was inside the bus. Myra was sitting near the middle, her face pale. In the reflection of the window, she wasn't alone. Rows of people sat behind her, all staring in the same direction, toward the front. Then the camera panned to the driver's seat. No one was there. The steering wheel turned by itself. The bus kept moving. A child's voice was heard whispering behind her. "We're almost home." The video shook violently and Myra screamed. Through the chaos, one frame stood out, a man in a soaked uniform, his name tag barely visible, Reno, the conductor who died 10 years ago. Then the bus door opened. The camera fell to the floor. We could see Myra's feet being dragged down the aisle by something unseen. The screen flickered, and the final image froze on Dimas's face, his mouth slowly forming words. "There's one seat left." When the police stopped the video, the air in the room turned ice cold. All the monitors flickered at once, displaying a single message on screen. Departure time, 11:45 p.m. Destination, unknown. That night, the detective who reviewed the footage didn't go home. His car was found the next morning, parked by the old terminal. His body was missing, but a bus ticket lay on the dashboard. Bus number 45, seat 10A. Detective Armin Saragar was the lead investigator of the Harapan Jaya case. When he vanished, his daughter Laya refused to believe he was dead. She said he was taken. The police called it grief. But 3 nights later, Laya's phone buzzed, a message from a number she knew by heart. "Dad, I'm on the bus. Don't come looking." At first, she thought it was a cruel prank. But the typing style, the punctuation, it was exactly like her father's. And attached to the message was an audio file. She pressed play. Static. Then, faintly, her father's voice. "Laya, if you ever hear the bus horn, don't look at the road. Close your eyes. Don't answer when they call your name." A horn echoed outside her house, 3 long honks, deep and distorted. Laya froze. It was impossible. She lived miles from the terminal. But when she looked through the window, she saw the faint outline of a red bus parked under the rain. The sign above it flickered. Harapan Jaya, last trip. Her phone vibrated again. "Dad, One seat left. Don't let them give it to you. The lights in her room dimmed. The TV turned on by itself, showing a live camera feed. Her front gate. The bus door slowly opened. A woman in a white dress stepped out, her hair dripping water onto the concrete. Laya backed away, whispering, "Dad, what do I do?" Another message arrived. "Dad, run." The front door burst open. Rain poured inside. A cold wind howled through the room. The woman's voice echoed softly, "Your father saved you a seat." The last thing Laya saw was her reflection in the window, sitting inside the bus, staring back at her. When the neighbors found the house the next morning, the floor was covered in muddy footprints. The phone was still there, screen cracked, showing one unread message, "Departure confirmed. Passenger Lea Sairagar." And from somewhere in the distance, the faint hum of an engine started again. Horn. A week after Laya disappeared, something strange began happening in the small mountain town of Sendang Raya, the last stop on the Harapan Jaya route. Every night at exactly 11:45 p.m., residents reported hearing a bus horn echoing through the fog. 3 long honks. Even though no buses had passed that road in years. At first, people ignored it. Then, one by one, they started vanishing. The first was Pak Rudy, the night guard. Security footage showed him standing at the edge of the old highway, staring at something bright in the fog. He raised his hand as if signaling a ride. Then he simply stepped forward. The camera shook violently, and when it cleared, he was gone. Only the sound of an engine remained. By the third night, 7 people were missing. All of them last seen near windows, doors, or streets facing east, the direction the bus used to come from. The mayor tried to cut power to the area, thinking the horn came from pranksters or old speakers. But even with no electricity, the sound persisted, echoing deep from the forest. And each time it played, a red light flashed across the clouds, like headlights passing overhead. Then on the 8th night, every phone in town buzzed at once. A notification appeared on every screen, even old ones without SIM cards. "Your seat is ready. Departure in 10 minutes. People panicked. Some smashed their phones, others ran to the hills. But those who stayed began hearing voices outside their homes, soft, familiar voices calling their names. One boy, Rafi, recorded what happened next. In the audio, you can hear him crying, whispering that his mother's voice was outside the window, but she had died years ago. Then the horn again. 3 long notes, and silence. When authorities entered Sendang Raya days later, the entire town was empty. No bodies, no signs of struggle. Only muddy footprints leading toward the main road, and a single bus ticket machine still printing endlessly. Each ticket read the same. Harapan Jaya, departure 11:45 p.m., destination unknown. And if you listen closely near that town today, some say you can still hear it, the horn, calling for anyone awake past midnight. Because once you've heard it, your name is already on the passenger list. A month after the entire town of Sendang Raya vanished, journalist Andra Wijaya arrived at the edge of the forest. He was known for chasing impossible stories, ghost trains, lost villages, cursed recordings. But this time, he wasn't looking for fame. His fiancée Laya had disappeared with the Harapan Jaya bus. All he had was her broken phone. And one saved voicemail. A whisper that said, "Don't take the bus." It remembers. So Andra brought a satellite radio, 2 cameras, and a live feed connection, determined to stream the truth to the world. At 11:30 p.m., he set up his gear by the old road. Fog rolled in, thicker than smoke. Static filled his radio, then faintly came the low rumble of an engine. He whispered into the microphone, "If this is real, let them hear me." The horn echoed. Once, twice, 3 times. Headlights cut through the fog. The red bus stopped right in front of him, rusted, wet, and pulsing with a strange humming sound. The door opened by itself. Andra pointed his camera toward the dark aisle. Rows of seats stretched endlessly inside, far longer than the bus could ever be. At the very back he saw faces. Dozens. All pale, wet, motionless. The live stream chat exploded with comments. People claimed they could see someone waving inside the bus, a woman with long hair wearing a torn white dress. "Laya." "Laya?" Andra whispered. "If you can hear me, please." Then the bus lights flickered. The viewers saw Andra's reflection in the glass, but his reflection was smiling, even though his real face wasn't. The camera glitched. The audio warped. "There's a seat for you," a voice said through the radio, layered with static. "Broadcasting complete." The feed went black, but the signal didn't end. Instead, hundreds of viewers around the world began hearing the bus horn through their own devices, phones, TVs, even radios that were turned off. Andra's last frame appeared online an hour later, automatically uploaded. It showed the inside of the Harapanjaya bus filled with silent passengers, and a new seat tag on the front row. "Passenger 11 Wijaya, press." Since that night, every October, random live streams go dark at 11:45 p.m. When they come back, the last second of video always shows the same thing: a foggy road, red headlights, and the soft echo of a horn fading into static. The night after Andra Wijaya's live stream, people all over Indonesia reported something impossible. Their phones, TVs, and even old radios glitched at 11:45 p.m., showing the same flickering image: a red bus crawling through endless fog. At first, everyone thought it was a viral prank, a marketing stunt. But by morning, dozens of viewers had vanished. Their devices were found still turned on, screens frozen on the same frame, a seat inside the Harapanjaya bus marked with their initials. Tech forums called it the bus signal. Anyone who watched the full 3-minute clip claimed to hear a horn later that night. 3 long blasts. And if you didn't shut your eyes before the third, you'd start seeing the reflection. 2 hackers, Reza and Karen, decided to trace the livestream source. They thought they could expose the truth behind Andra's death. They used a dark web frequency tracker to intercept the signal at 11:40 p.m. What they found wasn't from any tower, server, or satellite. It came from nowhere, a transmission bouncing through dead radio bands that hadn't existed since the 1980s, and then their monitors lit up. A bus interior, empty, rows of wet seats glistening under dim lights, and on the windshield, words written in fog: "Thank you for watching." Reza laughed nervously. Nice glitch effect, but Karen froze. Because in the reflection of the screen, she saw the back of her own head, sitting in the very last row of the bus. The feed cut. Her headset fell, and Reza heard the faint sound of an engine starting behind him. He turned nothing, just the cold night air. But when he looked back at the monitor, there was a new passenger sitting by the window. Her name printed clearly on a digital tag: Passenger 12K Santoso. Reza never finished uploading the footage. His computer crashed, displaying one final line of code. A month after the bus signal went global, only one person still tried to trace it: a quiet systems engineer named Dara Suharto. She worked for the National Transport database and had access to the original registration files for every vehicle ever made. When she typed Harapanjaya 45 into the archive, the system froze. The screen blinked once, twice, then displayed a file last updated October 16, 1995, exactly 30 years ago tonight. Inside the file were photos: a bus in perfect condition, smiling passengers, a driver holding a newborn baby. The baby's name tag read: Dimas Suryanto. Dara's breath caught. She remembered that name, the first survivor. Or so everyone thought. She dug deeper and found the crash report. Bus 45 lost control after driver fell asleep. 11 dead, including the infant Dimas Suryanto. So who had they seen since then? Who kept the bus moving? At 11:30 p.m., Dara's office lights flickered. Her computer booted itself and opened the old livestream window. A voice came through the speakers, calm, familiar. "You found me, Mother." Dara froze. The voice was small, soft, the voice of a child. Then the video feed activated. Through the static, she saw the inside of the bus again. Only one seat was empty. The last one. On the headrest, a name appeared in bright red pixels. Passenger 13D Sahardo. Tears filled her eyes. "I'm not your mother," she whispered. "You were supposed to come that night," the voice said. "You left me on the road, but don't worry. I saved you a seat." The lights went out. Outside, thunder rolled like the roar of an engine. The sound of brakes screeched through the rain. When people found the building the next morning, every monitor displayed the same message: all passengers aboard. Route complete. And the file for Harapanjaya 45 vanished from every database in the country, as if the bus had never existed. Now, truck drivers say they still see the red bus sometimes, parked on the shoulder of the mountain road. It never moves. But if you walk close enough, you can hear a child's voice from inside. "We're home, Ma." Then the engine starts again. 30 years after the last official record of Harapanjaya 45, the city of Madaya had changed. The old terminal was gone, replaced by a shopping mall and a neon sign that read Harapan Square. Nobody remembered the bus anymore except the night shift janitor, Tomo, who sometimes heard a horn in the basement parking lot when he worked late. On October 16th at 11 p.m., Tomo noticed a new level had appeared on the mall's elevator. Panel, B3 Old Terminal. He didn't remember that ever being there. Curiosity got him. He pressed it. The elevator shuddered and began to descend far deeper than it should have. When the doors opened, he stepped out into a damp tunnel lit by flickering lamps. Painted on the wall was a sign half covered in mold, Harapanjaya Bus Company, and then he heard it. A low rumble, an engine turning over. A red glow filled the tunnel as a familiar bus rolled slowly from the darkness, its headlights blinking like tired eyes. On the front display, Route 45 return trip. The door hissed open. Inside, 12 passengers sat quietly. Their faces pale, their eyes reflecting faint light like mirrors. One seat was empty. "Sir," a child's voice said from somewhere inside, "are you waiting for the last ride home?" Tomo stepped back, heart pounding. This place shouldn't exist." The driver turned his head. It wasn't a man at all, just a hollow shape made of smoke wearing a conductor's cap. A whisper came from every direction. "Every 30 years. We arrive for those who remember." Tomo ran. The elevator doors closed just before the bus's lights reached him. He pressed every button until the car stopped at the ground floor. When he stumbled out, the mall was empty. Lights off. Windows fogged from the inside. Outside the glass doors, the street was gone, only a black road stretching into fog. A single bus waited there, engine humming softly. The next morning, security found the elevator stuck on B3, but there was no B3 in the blueprint. In the parking lot, only a faint smell of diesel remained, and a wet bus ticket resting on the floor. Harapanjaya, return route, departure 11:45 p.m., passenger 14TOMO. Sometimes just before midnight, the lights in Harapan Square flicker, and customers swear they hear an engine starting beneath the floors. No one stays past closing anymore, because every 30 years, the road opens again, and the bus comes home. When Raka struck the black heart inside the bus engine, a blinding light filled the tunnel. The sound of metal twisting, glass shattering, and voices crying out echoed through the air, then silence. When he opened his eyes, Raka was no longer in the mall's basement. He stood in the middle of a dark, endless road, the bus parked beside him. Fog stretched in every direction. The sign on the front of the bus flickered weakly. Final destination release. The door opened. Inside sat all the souls who had died on the route decades ago, the passengers who never made it home. Their faces were calm now, their eyes no longer empty. The child from before stood up and smiled. "You did it. You stopped the route. We can rest now." Raka nodded slowly. "But how do I get back?" The boy's expression softened. "You don't. Every driver who ends the route becomes the last passenger." The bus engine started one last time, quietly, peacefully. Raka stepped inside without fear. The door closed behind him, and the fog began to fade as dawn broke on the horizon. For the first time in 30 years, the red bus disappeared not into the darkness, but into light. Weeks later, when workers demolished the lower floors of Harappan Square, they found nothing but a patch of asphalt beneath the foundation, a road leading nowhere. No one could explain it. But every year on October 16th, a faint sound of an engine is heard at midnight near the ruins. Not loud, not menacing, just the gentle hum of a bus finally finishing its last journey. The end. And so, the road to death finally closed. No more passengers, no more screams, just silence. And the echo of a bus that once carried souls who never made it home. Remember, some roads are never meant to be found again.